Everybody, please welcome Ramon Fernandez, who plays Diego in Modern Warfare 2. Mate, how are you? Thanks for coming onto the show.
How's it going? Yeah, my pleasure. My pleasure.
How you been, man? How's the how does it feel? Is this your first video game
Well,
experience?
no, it's my first being scanned.
I
I
mean,
was
yeah, in the
also
motion capture, yeah.
correct. I was Beltway in Resident Evil, but I
Yeah.
had this full get up over me. So this is my first time really, taking part of something like this, which is a very interesting process, I gotta say.
So talk to me, go back from the start and when you I guess when you're younger, like how did you get into acting from the
Oh
start?
well,
Were you
yeah.
always love it? Always wanted to do it or
Yeah,
what?
always. I studied it in theater. I went to London to study for a little bit, and I was a minor in college here in Rhode Island. And then I went off and ventured off into a business career for a few years, and I discovered I didn't like it, so I walked away from the whole thing, and I bartended for many years in New York City, so I have to have the daytime free to audition.
I'm sure you've got a few
And
stories from that.
oh yeah, that's PhD in humanity right there. And little
Yeah.
by little, it started to happen, and then eventually I moved out to LA, where I live now.
So moving to LA was the big step, and
Well, I
from
was
there,
already a New York actor for a few years. I'd done a
okay.
lot of all the local shows, Law and Orders, Sopranos, and stuff like that. It's how when you're first getting started, you pretty much take anything you can get. So after a few years of that, then yeah, I moved out to LA, and that's when other things started to happen for me. Yeah.
And do you think these days actors have to be in LA, or is it changed with the pandemic and things like that?
No, I mean, you don't really have to. I
Mm.
think it has to be in one of the major hubs. I have representation in New York, LA, and Atlanta, just so I can cover the whole spectrum of it. But
They shoot a lot in
there's no,
Atlanta, do they?
yeah, like a
Okay.
lot, yeah.
Okay.
Fear of the Walking Dead and so on. But since the pandemic is no more in-person auditions really, so it's something that you basically submit a tape for everything these days. So you could practically live anywhere if you're able to, move yourself around. Yeah.
And how did this role of Diego land in your lap? I mean, was it just a normal self tape and then you didn't hear back
Yeah.
for months and then all of a sudden they come ringing
Yeah,
or?
well, it was to me. See, I'm a character actor, I'm a journeyman. So for me, it was just another audition. It was just another
Yeah.
part. And so they called a few days later and they said, we want to do a live video with you, callback setup with the producers and so on. And that's when, we went through it again and I just made sure I was prepared. And then they hit me up and they said that, but it was all very secretive. Like they don't say you're auditioning for Call of Duty. They just say there's this thing, and it's not until after you book it that you find out what it's really all about. And it's strange because once I guess they don't want the attention. So when you go to shoot it, it looks like an abandoned warehouse.
Yeah.
It looks like somebody ripped the sign off the wall, and the windows all boarded up. And so I was checking to see if I had the right address. And then once they wave you in, it's like Men in Black in there. Just it's crazy
Shit.
technology and people running
Yeah.
around with walkie talkies and all this stuff going on. So, but from the outside, you would never know. You walk right by and think it's an abandoned building. That's like how they do it. It's pretty fascinating.
So
Um,
yeah.
yeah, and so once you you realize what it is that's going on, then it becomes, oh, okay, that's what this is. And you have the literal moment of like, sort of like you've joined Top Gun or something. Like there's a chair with everybody's name and everybody's character, and the guy comes out and says, "Welcome aboard," and gives you the speech.
Yeah.
It was pretty fun. Yeah.
Yeah. And how does it differ from, you said you're a bit of a journeyman actor, like working on these TV sets and things like that. How was this different for them? And was it weird for you hopping into the gear and having the mask, got the cameras right in your face and things like that?
Yeah, it was a completely different experience that you had to sort of adapt to.
Mm.
I had never been experienced with mocap, and especially with, yeah, like you said, a camera right here in my face, and they did it molded my teeth so that so they wouldn't have to design chiclets. So it's really like you know.
Shit, man.
Then
Yeah.
they put you inside that ball of cameras where they all go off at the same time. So
Yeah.
the main thing that I had to do was, because you know, being used to being a TV and film actor, it's all about being small, you know, most of the time. You know, you don't really want to exaggerate, overact, you know, over enunciate, you know, those are no-nos, you know, to indicate and things like that. Versus like the theater where you're really acting for the last person in the last row who also bought a ticket. So you're projecting all the time. So there's a balance. So this was a little bit of a combination of the two, where I had
Mm,
to adapt my usual cadence, or where I might just lift an eyebrow. You know, I would have to, you know, and chew the words a little bit more, and the facial expressions had to be a little bit bigger, and it all had to be a little bit more sort of in your face and exaggerated, which is not
mm.
something that I'm used to, you know.
Okay.
But for the world of video gaming, that's how it works perfectly. And I had very good directors and producers that were, you know, telling me
Yeah.
exactly what to do, because you know, it could be daunting.
You've seen your work, haven't you? Because I was so impressed, man, with, you're only in that one mission, but man, it was, I wish there was more of you, man, because you killed it, man. You were so
You know, it's
good.
funny. What's funny is now it's going to be very meta. If I can, whenever I'm pissed off at myself, I guess I'll be able to go online and kill myself 12 different ways.
You
Um,
have seen my video.
yeah. I've seen. Yeah,
Sorry about that,
that
man.
was you. That was
Yeah,
you
that
who
was
emptied
me,
the
man.
clip.
Yeah, yeah.
That's great. I'm like, what did I do to this guy? He just emptied the clip and it just like completely reloaded and just kept emptying in me. I'm like, great.
I'm so sorry,
Um,
man.
yeah, someone has to do it. So I won't hold it against you. But that
Oh
was
man.
fun. So yeah, thanks for putting that up. And you know, I hope that everybody's having fun, either getting around or killing Diego. I also like the fact that there are some sites and videos that are putting up on how to get my key without killing Diego. So
I
some people
recommend
might
that.
be
Yeah.
a little bit benevolent, and you know, let a gangster live a little longer. You know,
But he still dies. He still dies, even if you
I
do that.
mean,
I know.
yeah,
I
you know,
tried to save you, man. I'm telling you.
yeah, crime don't pay. Crime don't pay. So eventually, you're gonna get yours. You know.
How did you get into the character in this suit? And because it's a lot of, you've got to have a bit of an imagination where you are. How do you sort of get into this role? Because you're completely different talking to you now to what the
Right.
character was.
Yeah. Well, that's the acting part. You know, this is it's a character. It's just the practice of a skill. You know,
Mm,
been at it so many years, and this is a character also that I've played variations of him in other pieces, in other films, in other TV shows.
okay.
Whether it's, you know, having to put on the accent, of course, and what level of it, and so on and so forth. So it's really almost kind of a second nature at this point. But you know, like 80% of what I do, 70% of what I do, I'd say is badasses, you know, bad guys. But in reality, I'm much more of a chill film nerd
Yeah.
kind of guy, you know. Uh,
Yeah.
but yeah, but I have family members that speak like that, so it's easy for me to draw from them and just, you know, imitate Uncle Tony or something.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
well, I guess you do it so well, man. I'd love to see you in another game as if it's not a main villain, something else, because
yeah, that'd
you
be great.
commanded the screen, man, especially when you got Maria Valeria there as well. Like to bounce off her, it was fantastic, man. It
Yeah,
really was.
thanks. She was great. She was quite the pro. You know, I remember, you know, we had one incident where I had booked something else, and she had flown in all the way from Colombia to shoot with me, and I had to go and shoot this other thing, and so she had to fly back, and I felt bad for her. But then when we finally got around to doing it, she was amazing. She's fire. She was just straight pro. She had a little more experience than I did doing that sort of thing. Um,
Yep.
but yeah, she flew in and flew out and did that role beautifully. Everybody involved, I think, did a terrific job in this. So you know, for me, you know, walking through a warehouse that's empty, you know, and doing the things that we did, and then seeing the final result is just mind blowing. You know.
Is it weird? Like, is it mind blowing seeing your exact likeness in a gaming
Yeah,
character? Like,
yeah. That I'm immortalized forever. That when I'm 75, I'll be able to look back and see what I looked like uh, live. That'll be interesting. But yeah, yeah, very very interesting process. And now that I've done one, I would definitely love to be considered for more,
oh, I hope so,
because
man.
I find it very interesting work. You know.
I really hope so, man. Um, was that all? Was that whole cutscene you with Valerian? That was that one shot? Was that broken into segments? How did
Um,
the actual process of that work?
yeah, the actual interrogation, you mean?
Yeah, the interrogation part.
Yeah, no,
Had-
that everything gets pretty much cut into pieces.
Okay.
But that was one of the longer ones where we actually had a few pages of dialogue, and you had to, push along. But I gotta say, a lot of the times you'd be very daunted because you get all this dialogue and all this business. It's not just the dialogue; it's the business. By the time you say this line, you have to land here. By the time you
Oh.
start doing this, your
Mm.
hand should be on your gun. By the time it's like a ballet choreography. Within that, you can find your creativity. You can find, your way of interpreting the character. But there's a lot of what we call in the business. You know,
Mm.
um, you beat the guy up in the thing, and by the time the second kick happens, you have to start with this line so that by the time you finish the phrase, you're at the door. It's kind of like that. So it's kind of like dancing together. So when we
Mm.
when we get in there, we're like a solid rock band.
Yeah.
Uh, we
Yeah.
just know each other's timing, and we just keep it going, and then the producers will say, tighten it up, shorten it up, make it faster, or this and that, or let's clip that, or when you say this, make sure that you take your time or whatever. So once that you get to tweak the nuances, then you move on to the next scene. Yeah, it's fun.
And you did some work in the booth as well, doing voice, like some additional voice stuff, or was it all motion
Not
capture?
this time. Not this time. Everything
Okay.
was recorded right then and there. Yeah,
Ah,
I did do
interesting.
some test phrasing and so on and so forth. I'm not sure if they used any of that at the beginning, but no, not this time. This time, everything was recorded live with me running around doing it. Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. And I know you're not a gamer, but were you familiar with Call of Duty, and are you familiar
Yeah,
with the success of this one, where it's been played by, I think, 25 million people?
that's
Just a
crazy to me.
couple?
Yeah, that's crazy. I mean, I mostly through my gamer friends who are freaking out about it much more than me at the time that it came out, because I just don't understand this stuff. I'm not really in this world. So
Yeah.
through their excitement, I'm getting an idea of how big this is. But yeah, I'm just happy and grateful that I was allowed to be included into one of the top games in all of gaming history. And within
Mm.
that series, I think one of the best ones that's ever been done. So that's terrific, man.
100%. And
Yeah.
this is a bit of a different question, but what was it like working with Giancarlo Esposito? Because I know you've worked with him before. I
Yeah.
don't know how long ago that was you worked with him, but
Yeah.
he's a phenomenal actor.
Yeah,
How was it
Giancarlo,
bouncing?
he's a trip. He's a
Yeah,
trip. He's a lot of fun. He's very intense. He'll tell you exactly what he thinks.
really?
He doesn't mess around,
Wow.
oh yeah, and like when we're doing a series called Revolution,
Revolution.
and
Yep.
yeah, where he has to kill me with my own gun. And I remember that he has four daughters, and he lined them all up on the side stage on set by height. And so we would do the scene, and then cut, and then he would ask, you know, the eldest daughter, "Did you believe it?" She would say yes. Then the next one, "Did you believe it?" Yes, yes. And then the littlest one said no. She said, "Okay, we're going again. We got to shoot it again." until
Wow.
until all my daughters believe that this is real. So that was he's eccentric in that way, but you gotta love
Wow.
Giancarlo. He's a
Shit.
good guy. Yeah, he's from Brooklyn. Yeah, he's a good guy.
Wow.
So we had some fun doing that. Yeah, I was on a few episodes of that, and then yeah, it's been a trip. Just going through different I was in, Iron Fist, so I got a little taste of Marvel.
Man, great show.
Of
Yeah.
Yeah, I've worked with a few, top directors that I thought, were seminal to the way that it shapes your career. You work with Steven Soderbergh for 1 week. It's like a year of film school. Just sponging it up, just watching him work. People like that,
Do
Todd
you get
McCarthy, people
nervous
like.
working with people like that, or are you?
No, actually, I actually get juiced up. I get excited. I bring on my game.
Mm,
That's like what we train for. So, if you're, and there's also like, stars that you grew up watching that you have to level off, or you'll never get through the scene. You can't be, in a worshipful mode,
no, yeah.
and you kind of have to sort of even say, okay, old man, maybe you're out of tricks. This is how I think it should be done, and bring it to them. You know what I mean? And a
Yeah,
little
yeah.
bit
I love
defiant.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the
And
attitude. Yeah.
yeah, you got to, be a player. That's what they're paying you to do. So yeah, it's a fun life. It's not this it's valleys and peaks. It's being an actor isn't always easy. The highs are highs and the lows can be very low, but we keep pushing and we keep doing it and we keep making a living at it. And things are changing for the Latin community. Um, in the type of roles that I'm being offered, not just gangsters, not just bad guys. I tell my friends a joke that I scare white people for a living. That's kind of like what I do, and that's fine. But I wouldn't mind playing a lawyer. I wouldn't mind playing a
Yeah.
dad, something
Yeah.
like that. But I know that my persona in itself has got a certain intensity to it, so I'm not complaining. You know what I mean?
It's not that you
Um,
can't do that. I think it's just you're so damn good at this. You know
yeah.
what I mean? Yeah.
Well, thanks, man. I appreciate you.
Who's a sort of, or you can name a few directors or people that would be a dream role for you or a dream.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Wow. I think Antoine Fuqua would be amazing to work with.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Um, Level of intensity is just great. Of course, Martin Scorsese would be the absolute ultimate. Any one of those guys, I think, the golden age of American cinema to a certain degree was in the 70s. And there's not that many of them left. I know Coppola's got a couple of films in him that he still wants to do. I know that, but a lot of them are dying. Beatty doesn't direct anymore. So, I mean, in a dream world, those would be the guys that I'd work with. But contemporary, of course, there's PTA, there's Tarantino. There's, we still have, very good filmmakers out there. And of course, there's a new generation just, knocking at the door. So, it's just it's a fun world in any aspect that I can get involved in.
What do you think? Because you've worked with Marvel and you probably heard
Mm-hmm.
some of the comments that Tarantino and I think Scorsese have said about not
Yeah.
just Marvel, but superhero stuff. Where do you
Mm-hmm.
lie on that? Because I know you're a film buff, but also you've worked with
Yeah.
Marvel. So you sort of got both sides. Where do you
Yeah. I mean, I
land?
tell you, there's an audience for everything.
Mm,
If you make it, they will watch it. But, um, you know, I understand what they're saying, but the thing is that the industry is changing so much, and you run the risk of it not aging well, of you running the risk of being the guy that said talkies are just a fad, you know, because it's just where the world is going for. But I do understand what they're saying, which
mm.
is that the hero and the anti-hero now is the character, not the actor playing him. You know, it's
They're going to
Superman
see.
is
They're going to see
Superman is a star.
Superman, not Henry. Is that what? Yeah.
Correct,
Mm,
correct. And it's got more longevity than any actor. Where someone like Indiana Jones, you can't imagine anybody else doing it but
mm.
Harrison Ford. So that it's a little more interchangeable. I do understand that they're saying it's a bit of more of a roller coaster ride than pure cinema, but it's just where it's evolved to. I got to tell you, if you could bring back, if you go back in time and put Charlie Chaplin in front of a Marvel movie and say, look at where cinema is going to be in 100 years, his jaw would be on the floor,
Yeah.
with how far we've come and the kind of stories that we can tell. So it was just it was inevitable. It was inevitable that eventually technology is going to become so good that anything that you can come up with, you can put on screen, and there's no limits whatsoever. So that's where we are, and I celebrate all kinds of cinema. I have my
Yep.
preference. I'd rather watch Taxi Driver for the 16th time than a Spider-Man movie, but that's just me. I know that there's somebody out there that would rather watch the Spider-Man movie, and that's fine too.
Yeah, I think I'm with you. My favorite film of this year would be, I don't know if you've seen it, Everything Everywhere All at
Oh yeah,
Once.
that
I
movie
mean,
was bananas.
that is that is probably one of the most craziest films, but well edited, well acted.
Yeah,
Like, it's just, I like stuff like that. Just something a bit
yeah,
different, that
yeah, and it
but
just
still
won a
has the
major
emotion.
award.
And yeah.
Yeah, it just won the Gotham Award last
Oh, did
week.
it? Yeah.
Yeah, and so I think it's going to be a big contender at the awards because it's a movie that took chances. It's a movie that takes chances,
Mm.
and it's unexpected, and it was all over the place, but they tied it in really well, and I thought it was great. And it's not your usual linear pedigree either. These are people that are on the fringe, and so it's just great to see their comeuppance happen.
Mm. I'll give you a
Yeah,
couple more questions. These are fan questions that
sure.
people have sent in. They want to know, what does sin nombre actually mean,
Mm.
Ramon?
It means without name.
Oh,
It means no
okay.
name.
There you
And
go.
sin nombre means the one with no name. So it's kind of like, in the vein of the classic mysterious baddies of mafia, the Black Hand and so on and so forth, the hidden one. So it's yeah, that means that sin nombre means the one with no name.
What was the Burning Man like, Ramon?
Well, I don't know how they found out I was burned, but I guess yeah, my Instagram is up. It was good. It was intense. It was my fourth one, and I'll leave it at
Your
that.
fourth one. Oh,
Yeah, my
shit.
fourth one. Yeah, yeah,
Shit.
yeah. I've been at it for
Wow.
a few years. Yeah,
Do you recommend it,
it's
or?
I do. I mean,
Yeah.
you got to be ready for it. You got to be,
Yeah.
it's a little Mad Maxy out there. You got to take all the
Yeah.
food you can eat, all the water you're gonna drink,
How long are you
and
out there for? Like a couple of days,
a
or
week, a full
a
week.
week?
Yeah, full week. Yeah,
Shit.
and this year it was really, 100 plus degrees every day, and just baking out there, very dusty. But that's part of the reason you go. It's kind of like a pilgrimage and spiritual cleansing of sorts. And after 2 years of pandemic, I was ready to, get out there in the desert and sow my oats again and see what's going on with other people. So it was a good time. It was difficult, but it was a very good time. Yeah.
Yeah. Uh,
Might
would
take a
you
couple of years off.
would you love to be in another game, Ramon? Loved your
I would.
performance.
I would definitely love to do that. I think that, voice work is one of my dear passions. And when you can combine that with, some action that's going on, I think that'd be great, and looking forward to seeing everybody on the festival circuit and Comic-Con and all of that. I'll be at all of it. So
Oh, nice,
looking forward,
nice.
looking forward to meeting some fans out there and
Amazing.
and telling people to get the fuck out of my elevator.
On that, actually, someone he asked, were you familiar with the Spanish, what kind of fucking name is soap? The origins of that.
Yeah. What about it? What's the question?
So what they're trying to ask is, that was actually a callback to the a Modern Warfare game from years ago. That line.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was just wondering if they told you
Oh,
the context to that when you did it.
absolutely not.
Oh, there you
I
go.
had, I had no idea.
There you go. You're learning
I
it
had
now.
no idea because I don't play the game. I don't know the story of it, and it was just another line on the page.
That's it.
Yeah.
What do you do to relax when you're
But
outside of acting?
oh well, I like to play my guitar. I have
Oh,
four of them, so I chill and I play my guitar, and I also make documentaries on the side. So I just finished my second one. My first one was
congratulations.
on Netflix. Thanks. My first one was on Netflix for a couple of years. It's on Amazon now. It's called Glory Days, Daze, and it's about the club kids of the '90s and this sort of gruesome murder that happened. So if you like true crime, check out Glory
My
Days about
girlfriend loves
Michael
true
Allen.
crime. She's probably already seen it. I'll have to
Oh,
ask.
probably. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
How?
about, yeah, yeah. You know, if you saw a movie called Party Monster, it's about the real guy coming out of prison and so on, Michael Alec. So yeah, check it out. So yeah, that's what I do. I like to do film stuff, and I like to hang out with friends and go out and do the typical LA stuff, ski, surf, whatever. No, not surf so much, but hit the beach and just hike and just do my things. And I have a motorcycle that I ride on PCH as well. So yeah,
Man, you're busy.
very much the
You're
Cali
busy.
life. Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then final one, creative freedom. Did you get much creative freedom with this game at all? Or was it directly the lines on the
Yeah,
page?
no, you do get you within the frame that you're given.
Yeah.
Um, you're in fact getting paid to be creative. Otherwise, they would just hire a robot. So it's they would just cast anyone and tell them what to say. So you have to have that,
Mm.
to even get the part. So yeah, absolutely. They gave, once you know exactly what has to happen, and like I was talking about before, the timing of things and how, you have to, once you get that blocking out of the way, your cadence and how you say them, and especially having an accent and how thick to put it on, and all of those things come into play. You're only as good as your opponent. It's like tennis, and then ping pong, if we're how intense it is. But yeah, they allowed me to give them my version of Diego Salgado, of this guy.
Again, man, you killed it.
Thank you. It
And
was a fun role.
is there anything you want to say to the Call of Duty fans out there that loved your
ah
performance? Or
yes, well, thank you so much for playing, and thank you so much for tuning in. And I will definitely love to meet each and every one of you if I possibly can on the circuit during the next year, because I'll be out there taking photos and autographs and whatever it is, and I might even get on Cameo. So look
oh
out,
man,
because
yeah, that'd be
Diego's
cool.
coming.
That'd be cool. Hey, is it
Yeah,
all right? Is it all right if Diego says something to Dan quickly, Ramon, before I let you go?
sure.
Thank you, man.
Get the fuck out of my elevator. There you go.
It never gets old. It never
Never
gets
gets.
old. Thank
There
you,
you
man.
go.
I
That's my
really
iconic
appreciate your
line.
time. Thank you,
Hey,
man.
my pleasure. Keep gaming. Happy gaming, everybody. And we'll catch you next time.
Take
Take
care,
care, buddy.
brother.
Thanks for the interview.
Cheers,
Right
man.
on.